Hey, welcome to today, day two of the VooDoo 5 build. Yesterday I laid out the wing. Took about an hour to build the wing from the kit. So in all actuality, I had about I would say 6 hours in it because it took 5 hours to cut the kit. Two kits. So today we're going to finish it up and get it ready to cover. We might get it covered today, but I want to show a couple of different aspects that I did on this particular airplane to make it a little more modern in construction. I didn't change any of the numbers except for the booms. We did lengthen the booms, and I guess that's a kind of a standard thing they did to make it turn better or whatever. This morning all I did was I plumb and lined it. Now that's a carpenter's term for building a wall, a room wall. Plumb being straight up and down, line meaning it square. And what I mean by plumb and line on this is that I first sighted down the trailing edge to make sure that we ended up with a nice straight trailing edge, which we did. Then I sighted into the wing. I wanted the center line of the trailing edge equal with the center line of the leading edge, and I tweaked it as such. Then I glued the leading edge. Let me turn up the bandwidth here. Bandwidth, it's up all the way, okay. We must be just combating with everybody else. Anyway, I glued the tips on and I put the tip braces in and I angled the leading edge. That's what I did this morning. Oh, I also added the false rib here, and I got the motor mount ready for installation. And the first thing we're going to do is glue this motor mount, and while we wait for the motor mount to dry, we'll bush our bell crank. So I have 15-minute epoxy here. I don't have all week, so we're going to use 15-minute instead of 30 or 2-hour or 24-hour or whatever. Just a lot of times I do it with 5-minute, but I'm going to use 15-minute because there's a lot of juggling to get that motor mount in there. Now, if you want to join the conversation, go to @thebench. There's a thread in there, Q&A with Sparky. I updated the link to get in. And let's see here. It seems that I want to make everybody aware YouTube is taking away live streaming. Not just us, it's everyone. They're doing away with that feature. And they have a new thing in there called Cameraman, and I probably should give it a try here shortly to see if we got our new system up and going. So we're going to have to use our alternative site and record it and then broadcast to YouTube. Don't ask me why. So I'm getting the epoxy ready here. So we got that ready. I need something to mix it in. Guess I can mix it. Oh, I know. We'll mix epoxy in a solo cup. They got to be good for something besides drinking beer. Like I say, working in the this little room where I'm staying is like working in a hotel room, and it's a slight disadvantage. But I do have access to some equipment here at my friend's house. But it's desire. Okay, so we're going to mix the epoxy 50-50. The only reason why I like the live stream is that the editing is what takes so long. And I just wanted to get away from that editing, so I know it's slightly boring with repetition and bad scenes or whatever. But at least here on these Hangouts, if you wanted to join and ask a question, you can. But now that they're taking that away, that's going to be gone. So, all right. Mix up the epoxy real good. See, we got 6 viewers. So, this is always messy. It's really messy, but I can't figure any other way to do it. So I apply the epoxy liberally between the 2 ribs and the leading edge. Well, I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing here. This center section in this motor mount is white pine 2x4. With maple motor mounts. So there we have that. And now I've already marked lines on the block where it goes to save me from messing around and having poor incidents in the engine. So we'll clamp that there while I look for a paper towel. clean glue joints. And here again, the reason why I'm using 15-minute epoxy instead of 5-minute is that I have to fish that bell crank floor into that slot that I pre-cut. And we'll go ahead and white glue the dowels in. And you ask, why not epoxy, man? Well, the epoxy just oozes out. So the white glue kind of penetrates better, I think. Okay. So I get my plywood floor here. This is a real juggling act here, this operation. Okay. Let's see here. Goes in this way. So it has to go in all the way from the outside. We put into that slot then. Then we need to line up that slot with the motor mount. Come on, I had you together once. There it is. Yeah, I guess I better force the glue in there. Got 8 viewers, no talkers. Go to Stunt Hanger and get in the at the bench thread, the Q&A. We'll have the link to join the chat. So now it's kind of just fish it around until it lines up. Can't pound too hard, I'm gonna break my glass. Oh, man. Come on. There they are. There it is. Yep. Let's make sure that's. You want to sight down the root or the tip center line of the wing and make sure the motor mount is parallel with that. And then clamp it. So that's the motor mount. Let's glue this other dowel in, and then I'll set it aside and we'll bush up the bell crank. I'll show you how I do that. Okay. And another clamp here. Harbor Freight Specials. Ended up getting a little epoxy on that. There we go. Okay, that'll hold our motor in. So I'm going to set this on the table. Yeah. And we're going to bush up a bell crank. So these are the new perfect bell cranks. I don't like them. They're not as good as the old ones. This is a nylon bushing in it. It has a brass tube that spaces it. You have to kind of use a fender washer on each side for safety. You know, at least back in the 60s, everything was made with quality. Today, everything's made cheap. It's terrible. So we have a little bushing, and you know, it's only $2.20. I'd pay $5 if it was made right, like the Fox bell cranks. I'll clean up the epoxy. Okay, now I'm going to mention something that some know, some don't. When you buy K&S tubing, it's just about impossible to bend. It's like spring. If you see the discoloration in this, if you take it and heat it up till it's red hot on the stove and let it cool, that's called annealing. Now you don't want to heat it up and then quench it in water so you can handle it, because what that does is temper it and it makes it more brittle. So heat it up and let it cool. Red hot, let it cool. Don't do it with a cutting torch, because I put the cutting torch on, it just melted right in half. Just do it on the stove. Anyway, I'm going to cut a couple pieces about an inch long. I use the Skype method. Just take your X-Acto and, oh, I lost that one. Oh, there it is. Now I showed how to wrap lead outs or lines in a voiceover tutorial. So I'm not going to really cover it much. I'm just going to go through it real quick. But if you look at for the voiceover tutorial on wrapping lines, come on. Might have to cut it with a cutoff wheel. Here again, I'm at a disadvantage. I want to talk about painting. I know that's not what we had meant to talk about. What I'm doing here, working for this gentleman, is I'm kind of the catch-all, meaning that I'm welding and carpentry, and I'm going to have to cut that. Lifts and so on. Well, the painter's on vacation, so Yesterday I went to Harbor Freight, and at home I paint with a small HVLP touch-up gun. It costs $35 from Harbor Freight, and it really works good. So I'm going to be painting it at this place, and the painter is taking all his equipment home or whatever. And I don't want to use his $1,200 shaded gun anyway. So I went to Harbor Freight, and I bought the big brother to the little gun that I normally use at home. This is a Central Pneumatic paint gun. Now, when you get the small gun, you get the regulator and a metal cup. This particular paint gun is $65, but I went ahead and bought the metal quart paint cup. That's $15 because those plastic cups, they swell with the thinners. So I had to buy a regulator and a water trap as well. So all in all, in this gun, I got 65, 75, 80, about $95. But this should do the job nicely. So a little plug for Harbor Freight. Because that gun that I use at home for painting does work really well. Okay, so I've got burrs on this. We're going to clean them off. At the scale mats a few years ago, they had a guy there selling a bunch of junk or whatever, and I looked through all the stuff, and this was all overlooked. This wire. This is 38 thousandths braided steel cable, big game steel nylon coated wire. And I go, hey, that's perfect for lead outs. So that's what I got it for. So we'll cut a length of wire here. Good stuff. If you do a lot of building, you go through a lot of staples. You might as well pick up stuff like this when you see it. I think I paid $5 for it. So first thing you got to do is try to fish it into the tubing that I just cut. Probably gonna have to put on a second pair of glasses so I can see the little hole. And yep. There we go. And you leave about 3 inches. Let's do the other one so we don't lose it. Open up the hole so I can get it in there. Now back in the 60s, I used to do this different. But this is a much better way. We used to drill these bell cranks out 1/8 of an inch, put an 1/8 inch piece of brass or bronze, and then put the next size fitting down from that and bush them that way. We even did the push rods that way. Okay, so now have that, get our drill. I can find a bit here. I'll drill out the bell crank to fit that tubing. Okay. These combat planes can be built in a day if you have everything lined out for you. So anyway, that piece of annealed tubing that I showed you, you just stick through the hole and bend it in half. Might not have left enough cable. Pull a little more. Make a loop as such. And we're going to wrap the lines and get it ready to go. Okay, so we got, where's the other end of this? Oh, there it is. So we're going to pull out about yay much. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it first. We'll wrap it first. And start at the top. Get a couple loops on it. I'm out of copper wire. I'm going to have to buy some. I'll let you know how that paint gun works, but I'm sure that it's going to work as good as anything else, because the small one works. Now, how long it'll last, that's a different story. I forgot my monocoat iron at home, so everything's going to have to be done with a iron. I mean, my monocoat gun. I don't have a monocoat gun with me. I see that, let me see if I can get the Q&A up, in case I got to answer any questions. Oh crap, I hate the way this works. Rusty, been missing you on the show. Yuck, it's my birthday breakfast. Hi Sparky. Hey Frederico. Buenos tardes. Let's see. Be back, have some visitors. See ya. Wouldn't boast too soon. HF quality is amiss. Now, I don't know what that means. HF quality. I put the link to the live show in At the Bench. You go there, or if you're a subscriber to this channel and have elected to receive notifications and rang the bell, you will have been notified that I'm running the show. Anyway, 3/4 of an inch wrap down. Then the lead out wire back on itself. I try to do these neatly. Well, I try to do everything as neat as possible. In case the airplane crashes, I don't look like I didn't know what I was doing. Since I gave up smoking, I don't have a cigarette lighter to melt or heat shrink the shrink tube. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Guess I could do it on the stove. Try the iron, but I don't think that's going to work. Now I'll show the finished product here. Now you can either epoxy these bindings or do as I do and put a piece of heat shrink on them. But there is the finished apparatus, and it ain't going nowhere. So any questions, type them into the chat box. I got it open. I'll make sure that I got enough lead out here. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's do the other one. Now the plans gave a specific measurement for bell crank location, but that's not how I do it. because I'm one of the guys that thinks bell crank location matters. I'm going to put it where I think it's going to work best. We have to make a third one of these up as a motor tether wire that gets attached to the pivot post of the bell crank. Let me check and make sure my motor mount hasn't moved. Nope, looks good. Epoxy's almost dry. Okay, so I got this. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. I hope you enjoy watching me build. Seems that we have, you know, I might try that other new feature, because it looks like nobody's coming in anyway to talk to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break. The bandwidth is so bad on this, it's really choppy on the video. The models have to be 60 foot from the center of the handle to the center of the airplane in combat. Give or take 6 inches, I think. But what I need to do is I'm going to need to, yeah, see the stream just dropped there. The bandwidth is poor. We're going to try YouTube's other feature, and you're not going to be able to voice chat with me, but the chat box will be on the video. So give me about a half an hour, and I'll come back and we'll finish our project. I'll mount the bell crank, do the sheeting, do the fuel pod booms, and we'll get it ready to cover. Shouldn't take long at all. So I'll see you in about a half an hour.